welcome and welcome back to Just Count Me In. Or if you're joining us for the first time, thank you so much for coming in and spending your time this way. I'm Sari Stone and I'm your host. Today we have with us somebody who I've been waiting to interview. As soon as I heard about him, I wanted to interview him. And I know you're going to enjoy him and gain a lot from this. His name is Stewart Crown. And I fell in love with his quotes and his life story because plenty of people have a story where they've had hard times, they've had good times. And I'm not discounting that, but I'm saying he's made a huge success of his life in general and a huge financial success despite several cycles of up and down, and retained his humanity. And as soon as I met him, I knew that we wanted him on this podcast. I especially liked his quotes because he said, I build confidence, I build beliefs. And we are all about that at Just Count Me In. And what I like about Stewart is that he helps people create freedom and create financial freedom that they did not think was possible and tap into their possibilities. And we are all about hope and possibilities here. So with that, no further ado, welcome, Stewart.
No worries. Thanks, Sari. Thanks for having me today.
Well, thank you so much for coming. So for those who don't know you, can you tell us a little bit about yourself and a little bit about your backdrop there, about your story?
Yeah, sure. So look, it's a very much rags to riches sort of story. I'm that high school dropout, who bummed around for a little bit and then sort of found his feet I grew into my early 20s. I, fell in with wrong crowds. I realized error of my ways and just slowly progressed to chiseling away. I'm a strong believer and we can only grow through pain as we are the marble and the sculptor. Our life experiences do shift who we are. So a bit about myself in short is that I'm someone who's just a normal guy who worked hard at himself and slowly started to see results over time. And then once I felt comfortable enough, I started to help people out there build their own confidence, build their own beliefs, and understand that, don't sell yourself short. You've got what it takes. Everyone has what it takes. It's just who's willing to take charge in that moment for themselves.
Absolutely. So I think you're being very humble. And I would like for you to explain a little bit more, just in a little bit more detail. So you've had some ups and downs. So how up were your ups and how down were your downs?
Yeah, look, so if I was experiencing ups and downs, I'd say, I'm the youngest of five. The closest sibling's 9.5 years older to me. Single income household. Parents are together, but obviously single income household. My mother suffered agoraphobia at a very young age, so I had to sort of take on a bit of that responsibility when she was going through that at about 11, 12. I picked up, what it was to have responsibility and be an adult at a younger age because all my older siblings had moved away. During the financial struggles of all that, my father won lotto. On the 8th of January 2003, my father won lotto in Australia. He had a large sum of money and we went from very poor to very comfortable very quickly. And I watched over that time, like that was a great feeling. And then within 18 months, the lotto curse kicked in. You give a lot of money to someone who doesn't know how to manage it. They lose it or they spend it. My father had a good time doing it. I think he deserved it. He'd worked hard in his life to have that moment. But 18 months later, there was no more money. And I was sort of sitting there going, what happened? And that's when, we're virtually back where we were 2 years ago, struggling, wondering where the meal's, where's the next meal coming from? And that sort of kicked me into like, I've got to learn about money. I've got to learn how to retain it, earn it, understand it. As I said, I already had that responsibility as an adult. I grabbed a bag at 16 when I left school and said, no worries, I'll see you when I see you. And 3 months later, I came home and I'd traveled the east coast of Australia already at 16, just working from town to town, doing those odd jobs. You need your gutters cleaned or you want your yard mowed, all those sort of things. And so I built up enough funds to move to the next town. Now, some of that adversity, we've all had the bad relationships and all that sort of stuff. That's part of it as well. But in my early years, I believe that's what it distilled a foundation within me to really grasp what it means to be successful and what it means to sort of pursue and be persistent in what we do. Because, the one sure way to fail is to quit. and I refused to give up. You know what I mean? Like there was no plan B. There was no one coming to help. I had to do it, and I made sure that I did it. So that's more in-depth story about me and who I am, and some of the adversity I had to overcome, and understanding, watching where your parents go wrong, and obviously had that resentment a little bit to them. And as an adult, as I got older, I realized that I am my own man. They don't make who I am. So I learned then, once I was able to release that upon myself, that was a new level for me in my own personal growth, was understanding that. And I know a lot of people out there might suffer from, some of the things your parents did. Your parents are who they are. Just you are who you are as well. So be you, and be unapologetically you as well.
I love that message. And that is exactly what we're about here. And you do a beautiful job of connecting your success on a physical level. So I'm just going to ask you, how do you define success?
Look, I think there's two answers to that question, in the sense that, like, a lot of people say success in career, like, what is rich? Bob Marley said, do you have when they asked Bob Marley, do you have a lot of money? He said, I'm not that type of rich. That might be success in his own right, where I'm rich in the sense of my family's healthy, I'm healthy, everyone's comfortable. Then you look at it from the other aspect of what success is in, like, business or entrepreneurship, which is where I focus. And that comes down to, I think, persistence. Anyone who's persistent is successful. It's, there's that old saying as well that obsession will beat talent every single day of the week. And, as long as you're persistent, that's where I think success comes from. Never giving up. If you fail, that's not, a point against your success. That's more of a, you're going to learn more from your failures than you are mistakes. Go out there and fail. Go out there and, learn how to fail, because I guarantee you'll learn how to do it gracefully, and then you will stop failing.
No, you're absolutely right. And neuroscience backs you. Your brain is more ready to learn when you do fail and make a mistake. If you spend your life in a bubble where you're safe all the time in that comfort zone and you never make a mistake, you actually do not learn and make new neural connections the way somebody who's out there taking a chance, failing, making mistakes goes. So you've got neuroscience to back you on that. So when you talk about being successful, so give us a little bit of background about how you make your money.
Yeah. So look, I've obviously, I've grown myself. One key factor when I was learning about money was, like, what do all the millionaires have in common? What's one defining fact that millionaires have in common? They've average of 7 streams of income. So that's where I turned around and went, I've got to learn everything. But obviously that takes time. My specialty is cryptocurrency. I managed to get into Bitcoin when it was about $150, had a lot of success from that. And then, lost a lot of money as well from my failure. I learned to grow, and I started to develop, I really locked in. I learned about the technology. That was my first part of how to manage my own wealth and generate my own money from just day trading and being in the crypto space. I'm one of those ones who has got that, rags to riches. I put so much money in and I made so much money out. But then I lost a lot of money too, and had to learn a lot about it, because I realized at that point I knew nothing. So when making my money, I've had a little bit of luck, don't get me wrong, but there's been persistence. I spent many years in the space with people telling me I was wrong, I was crazy, and crypto's never going to be anything. And look who's laughing now. You know what I mean? The US is making a strategic reserve for it. So I sit back, and then obviously having a bit more wealth and cash flow from crypto and developing some sort of passiveness out of it, I went into business for myself. During COVID, I owned a cafe. And that was quite difficult because no one could go outside. So had to really pivot on the business there. And what we did is we had a food bubble. We moved the food bubble to where you're allowed to exercise. So we had someone working in the shop, making all the sandwiches, all that sort of stuff, running them up to the bubble where we'd sell the sandwiches and coffees. So that's what kept us afloat. So we had to pivot on a dime to succeed there. Then I moved into property, and I had some really good close friends who were in property who were able to guide me. So that was really good, having those sort of mentors of, they'd already made the mistakes, so they're able to guide me around them. So that's when I was like, okay, maybe I should guide people, because I learned a lot about crypto. So in 2021, I actually got that beautiful thing to I think a lot of people want to do, maybe not everyone, but a lot of people want to do. And I got to tell my boss to get stuffed. I'm quitting. I've had enough. I'm going to go do my own thing. And actually, they were quite nice about it. So it was really good. Everyone's like, they saw that I was very persistent and very aggressive with trying to make my own success. And they were like, go do it. You're the one that can do it. So I left that and started my first coaching business or mentorship in crypto. Obviously, a lot of people want to get into it. So that's where I started in my own private mentoring of other people with other cash flow sources and passive income. So crypto was doing well, trading was doing well. Then I had the cafe, and then I made my coaching business, and I had property going on. So there was 4 streams of income right there. So I was like, how can I do more? And I started learning about networking income. And I was like, okay, I need to build a network. I've been the solo lone wolf operator, if you will, that's now going, I need to build a network around people. So that's what I've been doing for the last, say, 3 years. And I've built a very vast network of people and able to meet people like yourself, Sari, other people out of Dubai that are absolutely amazing people. And it's really true. It goes back to that homely saying where it's like, your network is your net worth. So build your network, build your knowledge. Knowledge truly is power. If you focus on the knowledge first, the money comes later. But that's generally how I go and learn about something, and then I'll implement it. Capital plus knowledge plus speed and execution. 3 foundational points. If you nail those, you cannot fail.
No, it's definitely working for you. Definitely working for you. And I think just that perseverance and that feeling like there's always a way. And I am right with you on that 100%. There is always a way. So I think along the way, you had to build capacity. Like when your dad won the lottery, he didn't make and that this is typical of most people who win the lottery. Within 6 months, they're flush the way they were, or people that have a near death experience. Sometimes within 6 months, they're right back to what they were doing. Not so for everyone, but, he didn't have the capacity to be wealthy because he hadn't embraced that. He didn't shift his identity. He just all of a sudden had money. And I think, did you do, and what do you recommend people do? Because we find that things start going really, really well for us and everything is opening up. And then we close down and we get anxious. We get a little bit nervous, like what's going to happen? Is this going to be gone? Waiting for the other shoe to drop. Maybe I don't really deserve this. Maybe I have imposter syndrome. Maybe they don't really know who I am. And we have like this feeling of closing down. And I believe that life is for expansion. And how did you find your way with that?
So, once I made my first million, I realized that, it wasn't about making the money. It was about who I needed to become. Because if you become anxious, you start to become fearful. All the things you mentioned before, like when I started mentoring, I had imposter syndrome. Like, can I do this? Am I the right person? Like all the things you mentioned there, I had to face and overcome. I noticed over time that as you kept hitting these walls of adversity within your own development, I started to learn, and I started to actually get excited when it happened, because I was like, what am I going to learn out of this? Like, this is exciting. Like, okay, I've hit a ceiling, or I've taken a step back and I've gone, wow, what am I going to learn here that's going to make me succeed? And that's when I really started to feel comfortable in my own skin and was like, nothing is bad. There's no such thing as bad publicity. That's within yourself as well. It's always an opportunity to grow and learn. So when you get this fear of success, if I will, a lot of people think, oh, it's going to be taken or all that sort of stuff. If you feel it's going to be taken, put people in place, whether it be lawyers, legal strawmen, all that sort of stuff. Put things in place that put you at ease. Don't sit there and go, oh, I'm going to worry about it being taken and take no action. If that's the problem, there is a solution. Don't focus in on the problem. Look for the solution.
Very much focused on the solution. So what happens when, did your success cost you anything ever?
Everything. My success cost me lonely nights, cost me relationships, all that sort of stuff. I have a daughter, the love of my life. She's amazing. And my partner, when I first started I started my first coaching business in a bear market. So obviously on a downturn, no one wanted to buy crypto. I was building a business It was very stressful. My partner left me at that point. Things got too tough. So it cost me a lot. It cost me my family. It cost me a lot. So it's very much, what are you willing to sacrifice? And if you want to sacrifice everything, show me, because that's where it comes from. It's like when you want to be successful as much as you want to breathe, that's when you'll be successful. If you've got that spark, which I think every person does, doesn't matter your circumstance or where you are. You could be the CEO of a company already or a drug addict. You've got a spark. We've actually got a saying, like you like my quotations, never let a crackhead out hustle you. In other words, you don't see an addict wake up in the morning and say, I can't get drugs. They go out and find a way. You should be the same. If I go, I'm worried about this, or I can't do this, don't let a crackhead out hustle you. Go out there and find a way.
I do believe that there is always a way. I've lived my life like that for a long time. How do you keep your spark? And I'm going to back up. So when you're following your spark, or I call it like living in alignment, it's the same thing. Yes. Do you believe that it's possible to live in alignment and still have a good relationship? Your experience didn't back that up because you were following that and it didn't work. She was not able to. She didn't have the capacity to sit that out with you.
I strongly believe that it happens. There's nothing I can do to change it. But in saying that, I do believe that you can be in alignment, and still there are going to be peaks and valleys. You know what I mean? You're going to be at the top of the peak, living life, you're living your dream. But remember, there's always a valley. As sure as good times end, so do bad times. And that's what you got to tell yourself as well. You might be a bad time right now, but just like good moments end, bad ones have to end as well. As sure as the sun sets in the morning, as I say.
Yes, because everything is cyclic. There are cycles for the moon, cycles for the sun, seasons. I mean, everything is cyclic. And so you're right. You're right. No, I understand what you're saying. What do you think? How do you think men are measuring themselves, and what's changing with men? I know sometimes, and I'm going to ask you the question too, because I've been really called to do episodes with men lately. And most of my students, more than half of my students, are male now. And I work with children and young adults and then some business owners. And all of a sudden it's males coming to me. And I feel that I need to help them find their voice and get it out there on platforms like mine, who they traditionally would not have a voice on. And I think that men, despite a lot of external success measures, are really struggling right now. So how do you think, what do you think men need permission to talk about? Why do you think men in particular, I think all people have a struggle. I'm not discounting that women are struggling, but young men seem to be having a harder time right now, getting the balance of everything.
Yeah, look, I have some, I believe, controversial views on this. I think men are not heard. Men aren't heard. Like if you're anywhere between 18 to 35, you are invisible as a man. We are, in the sense of we're always told to stiffen up your upper lip, be strong. And I think that's a conditional thing from men to women when they're younger. When women fall over and scrape their knee, they're like, okay, you can cry. Your feelings are valid. And that's why women, I think, develop emotional intelligence a lot quicker than men, because they're a bit stagnated. Because a boy scratches his knee, get up, stiffen up your, what are you, some type of girl? At least that's the era I was raised in. You had to be a very masculine. I won't use, sort of dark words, as I call them, like toxic masculinity, because I'm a strong believer that a man should be a beast, but know how to control himself. And a lot of people say to me, how did you overcome your demons? I said, look, I didn't. I just learnt to cage them. And they smile every time someone rattles the lock. But as for men being not heard, is go out and find your success. Don't chase the girls. The girls your age, as much as they are a bit more developed in emotions and maturity, you need to focus on yourself. Men need to look back and go focus on what you're not doing, because you see so many men, whether it be, suicide and the rate in suicide in men, all that sort of stuff. Men need to be able to talk more. So find yourself a group of people. It doesn't have to be an online group. Get yourself a group of close friends that you can talk to, because then you'll be able to express it. You don't have to hold it in. I've got really close friends that are returned servicemen from, Iraq and Afghanistan. Now they've seen some stuff. I feel comfortable in talking to them because they've got a brother in arms sort of loyalty. So I think men not being heard, they need to stand up and say, I will be who I am, and I'm going to, work on yourself, guys. Don't let anyone else dictate who you are. Men need to lead. Men need to go out and, be strong. And this is why you see men becoming so aggressive and angry, is because that's how he feels strong. If a man starts to feel upset or tears come, he gets aggressive. Why? Because that's what makes him feel strong. So you need to learn to control that, control it, and understand what went wrong, like I mentioned earlier, problem to solution. Take the time, step back, learn what the solution is, and act upon it. Because a goal without a deadline is just, it's just a dream. So all my message to all the young men out there is that be strong, be a leader. That is toxic masculinity, but there's also masculinity. So be masculine, be strong, be confident in yourself, stand tall. If you want to believe that you're a conqueror, you're a conqueror. You don't have to go out and hurt people to be that, but you can go out and feel strong in yourself. So it's my biggest thing, I think, and the ultimate and simplification of it all is, I think, therefore I am. If you truly believe it, that's what you will become.
And I think often the greatest thing that we have to conquer, or the greatest things, are the obstacles in ourselves.
Yeah, it was a famous quote from Julius Caesar, and that's, an enemy will hide in the last place you ever expect to look. Now, when I've asked that question to hundreds of people, everyone said family, friends, and I'm like, no, it's you.
You.
Yeah. There's a famous meme going around at the moment, and it's very much, all right, you've progressed to the next level. Your next opponent is you. So you might be able to conquer the adversity, but you need to conquer yourself first.
Yes. And I think our lives can only be as good as we allow ourselves the capacity to be who we actually know is our truth. And when we deny a truth, we deny our truth, we're paying the price with the quality of our lives, because it sits there when you know better. It sits there when you know you could be doing better, when you know there's that thing that you maybe need to quit, or something that you need to start, or something that you're doing, or something capable inside of you. So what do you think now is trying to come through you and express itself through you? If I took away the money and the business and the accomplishments that way, like, who is Stewart?
He is honestly a loving, caring father. If you took everything away, I am just a dad who wants to give his little girl everything she wants. That's all I am. That's the simplification of who Stewart Crown is and what he wants to achieve. If you took everything away tomorrow, that would be my main goal, is still giving that little girl everything I didn't have.
She's lucky to, she's really lucky to have you for a dad.
Don't worry, I'll spoil her. She knows it too. She's a diva. Yeah. She's a bit of a diva. She knows it. She knows Dad will do anything for her. She rang Daddy yesterday and said, Dad, I need money for Roblox, because she knows Dad won't say no. So I will give her everything. But that is my drive. That is my intent, not just to help people, but to provide, we all want to give our kids the best life possible, or the life that we never got, or we envisioned we wanted. And that's what I drive for. That's what I drive for.
Yes. So you seem to know your purpose at a really young age, and it was revealed to you from ups and downs, and you right away didn't sit and wallow in it, didn't sit in the blame. You went through what you needed to go through, and then you extracted purpose. You were like, the lower I crouch, the higher I jump. Right. You just pushed me down because I'm just going to knock the ceiling right off of this building. And that's my impression of you.
Yep. Thank you. Yeah. Well, I am a spring. The more you push me down, the more tense I get, the bigger I come back. This is why, why do millionaires that go broke within 2 years' time become millionaires again? Because they know how to do it. You can push them down. It just makes it makes them want it even more. Like you give me adversity, and I will show you the strength to get over it.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Yep. No, I love this. I love this. To me, there's always a way. Absolutely always a way. When I get it in my head and I know it's right, I don't take no for an answer, because I do know that if I'm thinking of it, it's there for me. I just have not figured out the way to connect with it yet, but it's got to be there for me or it would not be an idea. What do you
100%.
think is, I see so many gifts in you, but I'm just curious because I'm going to share what I see. What do you think is your greatest gift, Stewart?
Look, my ability to converse with people, I've always been told people do feel safe and comfortable around you, whether that's I've faced adversity and they can see stability in that, or they know if something, when something goes wrong, this guy will come to the party, calm, collect, and sort it. You know what I mean? And that's competence and confidence. And I say that out there to the young men of your group as well, that if be confident, be competent. You will get so much success. If you walk into a job not sure, they will see it. It's just walk tall, be strong, walk tall.
I like that.
So yeah, it just, and my famous quote for everything is like my drive, and I say it to myself every day is, especially when I don't want to do something, is I would rather lose everything than feel like I was worth nothing. That's my coined phrase. And what that means there is that I would rather go and try it and fail and lose everything than work in a cubicle and be a number and feel like I was nothing to everybody.
Right. Or feel like my life was worthless, or feel like I wasn't happy with my life.
I'd rather regret the things I did than the things I didn't.
Which is what they say is pretty common that people say on their deathbed, but you're learning it now. So you have an appreciation of life. And I know when we talked, you shared you had a physical challenge.
Yep. So I, at a young age as well, around that time, my father won lotto. I was an athlete. I was very much, making my way to the world circuit for surf lifesaving, I was a beach sprinter, so I ran on dry sand. And now I say to people, right, watch them on the track. That's one thing. Now do it on dry sand. Big difference. A lot more effort, a lot more power needs to go into your run. Mm-hmm. And I was at 14, I was competing against people that were 16, that 2 years of that puberty, there's a lot of development that goes on. So I had to be harder, stronger, faster. Problem was I got really sick with a rare genetic disorder called Reiter's syndrome. I've got an extra gene in my genetic code. 1 in 3,000 people have it. 1 in a million set it off. Now, so I was training. I was an athlete. I was an Ironman trainer. So that David Goggins style at 14, there is no tomorrow. Let's carry the boats. All those famous quotes from him. That's what I was about. That was my life. And then I collapsed. I asked the doctor at 14, am I going to die? And he turned around to me and said, I don't know. Now that when you're asking a doctor, someone who needs to do that, you don't know. And at the time I didn't know. The doctor had taken my mother out of the room and said, you need to prepare yourself just in case we can't find out what's going on. If it's the lesser of evils, he's got Reiter's syndrome. If it's not, he's got an autoimmune disease that's going to kill him. So I didn't know that at the time, but obviously they told my mother to be prepared. I was airlifted in the middle of the night from a country town to a very predominant children's hospital in Sydney, Australia. And I spent 2 weeks there and had to watch the event I've been training for 12 months, the global surf lifesaving event. I had to watch that on TV. Now that was very grueling. And after that, my body was never the same. I was always in a lot of pain. That's when, 16, this is where I talk about adversity. That's where 16, started smoking marijuana, which was a gateway drug, in the early 20s. This is why I say I went with the wrong crowd for a while. It helped with the pain, all that sort of stuff. And I lost my speed. So I never got back to where I was in my performance level. And at 19, I had a relapse of that illness, and it was in my back, and I couldn't walk, and I had to spend weeks in bed and all that sort of stuff, and lots of painkillers. And my mother said something very defining to me. She said, you can't use your body anymore. You've got to use your brain. So that started my process of, okay, I need to open myself up. You're a 19-year-old boy who has no definition of himself, has no emotional intelligence, feels like the world owes him something because it's been taken away from you, so you need to grow and develop through yourself. Obviously, I didn't realize that at the time. It was more like, what am I going to do? And I slowly just started learning and learning more. And that's when I got into quotations, philosophy, Started reading a lot more, understanding, just human psychology and the behavioral conditions of people. And that's when I started to notice a lot of things and define my own self-identity. Because as a teenager, I can tell you now, most boys have their head up their backside. Um, so they think they're indestructible. Things like what happened to me made me realize at a young age, you are not indestructible and you need to take every moment as if it's your last. Live like there is no tomorrow, because there's a good chance there may not be.
It's an incredible story. And it's so, I guess if you had kept going that way, maybe you would have been magnificent at it, no doubt, because everything you touch, you're really good at. But when you think about it, if you had kept going that way, it's almost like you wouldn't be here having this conversation and doing all these other things that you're doing, because everything would have been focused on that and on that performance. And I don't know if you would have rounded yourself out and integrated the head, the heart, the gut. I think you just would have gone with like Iron Man, like physicality.
Yeah. I'm strong.
What do you
I would
think
have.
your purpose is here, Stewart?
So my purpose here at the moment, and my light's just gone off. Great. Yeah. So I'll get you to repeat your question again.
So I think your life kind of shifted you in a really dramatic way to say, hey, like this isn't what we want you here for. This is great, but we want you here for other things, different things. And that if that hadn't happened, you would not have come to be who you are. So as awful and painful, I can't even imagine being told that you might die when you're 14. I could not even imagine that, or 19, or being the athlete that you were on top of it all. But it was like you were banking your wealth on that. And then poof, it just got taken from you.
It was all taken away. Yeah.
Yeah. Obviously, whenever something's all taken away, instead of sitting with that for very long, again, here you are. And you're like, okay, so what do I do now? Instead of just sitting in it, you said, there's got to be something. There's got to be something that I can do about it. And you did. And you took the time to develop your mind, and you took the time to develop your connection with humanity inside, on a soul level, on a philosophical level, not just on the physical level, which is also part of life, but that wasn't going to be your path. And
No.
I think, so what I had asked you was, what's your purpose? Like, why do you think you're here?
I feel like I ran with the wrong crowd when I was younger, and I feel as if if I can help a lot of people with the knowledge I've gained within wealth management or creation of wealth, that's what a lot of people strive for. Everyone wants to feel a bit of respite or a bit of easy breathing to paying the bills. There's nothing worse than having to, in Australia, we've got registration on your car. You've got to pay insurance. It's a big expense. And a lot of people have to prepare for 3 months if they can actually pay it. So It's more just teaching people how to manage their wealth so they can be a bit more comfortable in the sense of, oh, that bill's coming up. That's okay. I've got it covered. There's none of that worry. There's none of that concern. If they want to take it all the way and become that 7-figure, go for it. A lot of what I teach is scalable in that sense. I'm a strong believer in scaling up, like I was talking about levels and so forth. So my purpose now is obviously my daughter, raising her, but also helping a lot of people. I believe having children made me realize that I need to leave this world better than when I found it. And if I can do that for her, it'll be better for her and easier for her. So that's my biggest one. And I sort of want to backstep on there. There was a quote that really I found out very young, when I was young, by Marcus Aurelius, and he said, "Believe you've died, now go and live." And that's not word for word what it is, but the sense of it is, believe you have already died, now life really begins. In other words, kill that person you were for the person you need to be.
Absolutely. Yes. And I have his books too. Yes. Big fan of Marcus Aurelius, and lived a totally different way. One of my yoga students actually gave his book to me, one of his books, and I quoted it all the time because he was a revolutionary at the time. So what's next for you?
Currently working on an AI project. So I'm working around AI. Obviously, that's the big buzzword right now on that topic. And a lot of people think because my life work is in crypto or cryptocurrency that, are you going to make an automated trader or you're doing something automated? No, I'm trying to build a tool that solves a problem for people because, ease of use and all that sort of stuff. So there's more to come in that, but definitely working on something new and around AI that's going to help.
I'm just so impressed with the work that you're doing and what you continue to do, and that you seem to have very much, we talk on the podcast about integrating the head, the heart, and the gut. And I know it's so important to trust the gut and so important to trust the heart. And so many people, it's like we're walking around like we're just brains on a stick, basically.
I think a lot of people are conditioned that way through schooling. You're told to sit down, start time at this time, you get a half an hour or an hour break, and then you get to go home at this time. That's conditioning for a 9 to 5. You know what I mean? That's I feel people aren't in alignment because they're told what to do, but deep down they know that doesn't really work.
That's okay. Yeah. No, and I so appreciate you're doing this, and it is late your time. I really, really do appreciate this. So what's next for you sounds like it's just what's the next good thing. And I want to say what you give people, and I'll probably want to talk with you privately after this at some point. What you give people is it's a sense of security and stability so that they can go on to do what it is that they want to do. Because I've been in a situation where I didn't have any money and I didn't have a place to live for a short while. And it was not good sleeping on somebody's couch. It was in between, but I knew, it wasn't permanent, but it was not what I had planned for my life. And I've been poor, and I don't like it. I did not like it. So if you can help somebody get on their feet, and you can help somebody that's just getting by, or somebody gets nervous and has to put bills in an envelope for when they get paid their next paycheck, that's a huge freedom, because I was not thinking about my enlightenment when I was putting tips in an envelope to make sure that I could have enough food for that short period in my time. And I think what you're doing for people is giving them a safe feeling so that they can then launch and be who they want to be and go after those dreams, because they're not worried about just paying the bills. When I asked people what success was, I went to the people that listened to me, and most of the people that I work with don't actually live where I am. I'm new in South Carolina, so most of my people are in other places in the US, and then a couple in the UK. And I asked them about success, and one of the moms told me, and I mean, the dad has a business now. They're very, very wealthy. She said success at one point was just not having to sleep in my car. I spent almost a year going, and I thought, oh my gosh, so success can be that for somebody. But you're getting them to the point where they're feeling comfortable enough with their finances, and money is so it's so ridden with beliefs and old conditioning and limiting beliefs, and just it's an obstacle, and it's a problem for so many people until they realize that money is just energy, and that we all have this inherent worth just because we're born and we're here, or we wouldn't be here if we weren't worthy just by being here, of having that abundance in our lives. So what you're doing for people is fantastic. Where can people find you?
Yeah, look, so I mostly work around with contracting with other people. If they're looking for me, come to find me online. I'll hand you over my Facebook profile. People can come and find me there. I'm very public, very transparent of what I'm doing, where I am in the world. So, and I'm always open to the conversation. So if there's anybody out there in the community who want to have a chat with me, reach out through Facebook. You'll find me there. I'm very open about what I do. And, come and have a chat. If you're facing some adversity, you need some help, some pointers, I'm more than happy to go, look, I can resonate with you. I know I've dealt with something similar. This is how I took my approach and how I overcome it.
Thank you so much. Thank you so much, because a lot of the people, almost everybody that I work with is young, in school, out
Yep.
of school, just barely out of school, and then some people that own their own businesses, but I know they could benefit from
I'm,
talking to somebody like you,
I will
but
say that
especially
is,
for the people
yeah.
that are starting out.
Yeah, no, I
Yeah.
will say that those people who are in that transition, whether you're coming out of high school and going to university, don't worry, you've got time. You are young, you have a lot to learn, but that's where it gets exciting because you get to learn. There's so much for you to learn and there's so much for you to grasp. That should be exciting for you.
Yeah. And keeping that excitement, keeping that spark alive, keeping that curiosity alive. Do you have a practice that you do to energize yourself or keep yourself centered or grounded at all? Or do you just roll this
Yep.
way?
No, so it's become a bit of a muscle memory. So I do roll somewhere that way. But when I was starting to really get myself in there, like I've had those depressive moments. I've been depressed. I've seen the valleys. I've seen the peaks. Always get up. There's always try 5 affirmations towards yourself every day. I am good. I am great. I can do this. I will do one nice task for somebody in the planet today, whether that's just give someone a tip or whether it's, hey, I found your wallet or, you see an old lady crossing the road, give her a hand, those sort of things. Do at least 5 affirmations towards yourself every day. They can be what you want, but try and get them to distill the harmony that you want to perceive yourself as, because words are
I like
energy.
that.
And if you speak these words, that positivity, I'm a strong believer in manifestation, hence I think, therefore I am. So, it's hard when I find adversity, it's hard for adversity now to beat me because I think, therefore I am, I'm a rock. So you can't break me. And this is what, I'm a strong believer in that. So affirmations to yourself, words are energy, manifestation, I believe is real. And you really
Yes.
need to tune yourself into it. And for all those young men out there, on a final note, go and define who you are. Don't let events define you. Define who you are.
That's gold. That's absolute gold. Thank you for that. Thank you.
No worries. And thanks for
Okay.
having
All
me,
right.
Sari. It's been an absolute pleasure. I've loved this conversation.
Well, thank you so much. I absolutely love this. And I think you're going to reach a lot of people that you wouldn't normally reach in your network. And your conversation is going to reach the right ears and you're going to change some lives. So thank you for being a
That's what I'm
part
here
of
to
this.
do. No worries.
Thank
Thank
you.
you so much.
Thank you.